actor. We played some clips. The French Connection, he won his first Academy Award for Best Actor. Detective Papadol. The Conversation, 74. Superman, 78. Hoosiers, 86. Mississippi Burning, 1988. Unforgiven, 92. The Firm, 93. Crimson Tide, 95. Enemy of the State, 1998. I mean, it just goes on and on. But an absolute dude as an actor, and RIP to Gene Hackman. We are the Out of Bounds Show, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. We've got Steve Robertson joining us on the show.
Ooh, baby.
Hail State Insider, Gene's Page, 247 Sports.
Ooh, baby.
He's on his way to Houston, Texas to watch Mississippi State baseball. They'll take on Rice tomorrow morning at 11:05, so people are going to have their mind right for Friday lunch to watch Hail State baseball and Pico Khan on Friday against Rice. They're coming off a tough loss, Steve, on Tuesday night against Troy, 20 punch-outs, and couldn't win the game. What's wrong with the Dawgs at the plate?
Well, it's interesting you say that. They've had double-digit hits in 3 straight games, and in that game, I mean, they had a couple of clutch hits, but there were plenty of opportunities early in that game for State to kind of, take control of plenty of traffic on the bases. And, you get down 5-0, and then Sullivan hits a grand slam. Reese comes back up, ties the game, and you think, okay, this is going to happen. And State had opportunities in the 8th and the 9th, but just couldn't get the one big hit. And, that's, I think the issue is, they're hitting the baseball, but they've got to be able to bunch things together. I mean, how many times do you see that? I mean, you get a couple runners on and you don't score, and that's not just Germaine or Mississippi State, but in that ball game, there were plenty of opportunities, and Mississippi State just didn't take advantage. But usually when you get 20 strikeouts and 13 hits, you typically win games.
Right. I'd love to know the stat on that. Just college baseball the last 10 years. 20 punch-outs, 13 hits. How many times has a team lost, Steve?
I think it's a great question. And it's so interesting, too. It's like we talk about this all the time, and I think sometimes casual fans miss this, but every pitch matters. I mean, it's not like, you get to the 8th and 9th, it's magnified because you're running out of time. But, there were opportunities, Jacob Pruitt was cruising, right? I mean, and then all of a sudden, you give up another solo shot to Shane Lewis, and you're dominating their lineup. I think you got 9-10 strikeouts, and you've given up 2 hits, and you're down 2-0. And so the offense has got to carry their part of the deal too. And you had the one bad inning with Schneur, but making his Bulldog debut against a top 25 opponent, and you sign those guys to play them. It's like sometimes I think people think we should bring Landon Sims back and let him pitch every game. It just didn't work that way. You're trying to figure out who you can trust at this point and who can get you ready to go in SEC play.
Yeah. Is it time to panic?
No, come on. It's 6-2, 8 games into the year. No, and the 2 losses are the top 25 opponents, and so it's not like you lost to Central Arkansas, but the Bulldogs need a good weekend. So, that's the thing you got to think about. It's like this weekend could be big for State. I mean, you go down there and you get 2 or 3 wins, preferably 3. Everybody kind of forgets about the rest of it. But you go down there and just win one game, and all of a sudden, the naysayers are out, and you got to contend with that the rest of the year.
I don't see it's early, but the team's not playing with an edge. This game has got to be played. You look at Tony Vitello, and you look at the way that Tanner Allen, Rowdy Mangum, Adam Frazier. I mean, they just went on. Cohen was the one that really drilled down and made this program tough as nails and tough as hell. It had gotten soft and beyond soft, and Pillsbury Doughboy soft. But anyway, and so you went through this run of just tough dudes in the field and on the mound. The pitching is doing what they need to do. They can't play scared, and they're going to have some guys play with an edge and the toughness component. Where's that going to come from?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I think you're starting to see some of that with Ace Reese a little bit. He has 5 hits in the last 3 games. He hit the first home run of the year, then he kind of went in the shell a little bit, but you're starting to see him kind of find some barrels. I think he's going to be fine. You know, Noah Sullivan, of course, probably State's most consistent hitter. He and Bryce Chance lead the team with 10 hits apiece, and yeah, you need Hunter Hines to get going. I mean, you really do. I mean, Hunter Hines coming back was a bit of a bonus for Mississippi State, and you know, we talked about it the other day. I mean, he didn't hit his first home run last year to Game 15 against Evansville. He's already got a couple, but you know, really tough night at the park on Tuesday. It's some big moments. You know, it was his opportunity to extend the innings and kind of get big hits and push State ahead, and he didn't come through. But I got a lot of faith in Hunter. But you know, he's got to figure it out. You know, and you signed Reed Stallman thinking Hines wasn't going to be back. You know, and I'm not coaching the team, but if I were, I may give Hunter a day off, just kind of think about it and put Stallman in there.
Agree.
And just not that I'm done with Hunter Hines, but
no.
You know, sometimes guys need a bit of a mental and a physical reset. And I'm sure Hunter doesn't want to sit. He'll tell you that he's a competitor, but you know, sometimes you got to do what's best for the team. And maybe
no, all
helps.
the time. You know this. All the time you got to do what's best for the team, right?
Absolutely. And if that means dropping him to 7th or 8th in the order and maybe getting him some better pitches to hit, you know, maybe that's the deal. But you know, but the reality of it is if Mississippi State wants to get to Omaha, Hunter Hines is going to have to do damage this year for sure.
All right. You mentioned Jacob Pruitt. That was good to see for Mississippi State. Just a phenomenal pitcher from Indiana State. Steve, I'm not, you know, he did some really, really good things the other night. And if they need another option on the weekend at some point, he may be it looks like he'll get the first call. Of course, I'd like to see Charlie Foster get another shot at it because of his talent. But what was your takeaway from Jacob Pruitt, the transfer from Indiana State?
Well, you signed him hoping he'd be a weekend guy, right? And then he had a really good fall. He was a little bit up and down in the spring. And then, of course, his first outing left a lot to be desired. But, you know, the guy you saw Tuesday night was the guy that Mississippi State envisioned when they signed him. And I think every single guy that you take as a pitcher, you hope at some point that they are a weekend guy, you know. And so you groom everybody with that in mind. And so you begin to think about, okay, and you can even go back and look at 2021, right? And so you start out with Sarantola on Sundays, and you end up going with Jackson Fristow and eventually Houston Harding. So, you know, none of this is etched in stone. And so you bring Pruitt along, you bring Foster along, and then if you need to make a change on the weekend, you've already got guys that have some seasoning under their belt. So I think in that respect, State is in a good place. There have been some times historically where, you know, you have a couple guys on the weekend and really nobody to pitch on Sunday, and you had to do it by committee, and that's happened even in recent years. And so I think Pruitt's outing on Tuesday was a step in the right direction. I think there's a good chance you see him on Tuesday against Southern Miss, who he dominated last year.
I saw that.
Yeah, I don't think you run Foster out there again next week against them. I think there's a good chance Charlie pitches this weekend in some capacity. But, yeah, I think you run Pruitt back out there next Tuesday, and then as you get into SEC play, you know, instead of you having to kind of figure this thing out, I think you're already preparing for that possibility by bringing him along as maybe a Tuesday starter.
Okay, Steve Robertson, genespage.com, 247 Sports. He's headed to Houston, Texas for the Astros Foundation College Classic, and MSU will play Rice tomorrow early. So you need to go ahead and make your plans to be at whatever bar and restaurant you want to be at. Rice. Oh, by the way, do you know anything, Steve, about these games on TV? Or people going to have to subscribe to something? Or
I'm so glad you asked, because I was going to try to make that point before we got out of here. It's not going to be on the ESPN app, and I put that in every article I've written the last couple of days just to prepare people, because it's out of habit people just go to the ESPN app. This is going to be streamed on Astros.com and on the Houston Astros YouTube channel. And so, yes, you're going to have access to that. No subscription required.
That's awesome.
And so, yeah, so I think that's a big part of it. We got to get that news out there, because you know what's going to happen. My Twitter mentions and your Twitter mentions tomorrow around 11:10 are going to all be about, hey, where can I watch the game? So it's important to get that news out now. Astros.com or the Houston Astros YouTube channel.
Okay, that's awesome. All right, Steve Robertson is going he goes to all the games. And nobody covers MSU baseball like Steve. He joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. And this hit is brought to you by Older Brother Bistro in Starkville and their amazing Reuben and Muffaletta sandwiches, and then the wings and street tacos at Two Brothers. So if you're going to the LSU game this weekend, you know where to go. Pre and post game. Also, Crystal Sky Casino in Louisville, Mississippi, right off Highway 25. All right, Steve, let's run through this. I don't want to go too in depth, but give me a little 30,000 feet on Rice.
Well, they lost last night to Arizona, and I actually interviewed Jose Cruz Jr., and our subscribers can read that piece this morning. And just, not just about, the game with Mississippi State, but just kind of like his path and that sort of stuff. And, what took him back to Rice. And, he's a guy that loves Rice. He loves Houston, Texas. And I joked with him a little bit. We asked about his dad, and I said, he's telling me kind of what his dad's up to. I said, hey, man, does he still have that leg tuck? He goes, oh, you better believe it, So
love it.
But, yeah, so Rice State's going to see their best starter. And matter of fact, he may be their only bona fide starter. And Cruz kind of said that, hey, we're going to throw Hickson on Friday, and then we'll kind of figure it out as we go. And their bullpen has not been good. Now, Hickson has been really good in both of his starts. He led them last year in both appearances and saves. He's promoted to the weekend. He is the Friday night guy. He's allowed one run in his 2 outings so far. And the first one was against Villanova and last week against USC. Control has been a bit of a problem. He's more of a ride and slide guy. There's a lot of, verticality with his fastball. So he throws that four-seamer in a similar manner to maybe what Landon did, right? I mean, you throw the rising fastball, you throw the slider. He'll work in a two-seamer every now and again. And the change is just kind of a show pony, right? He'll throw it just to kind of keep you off balance and know that he's got it in the toolbox. But, I think once you get through him, and I feel confident that State will, and you get into that bullpen, it could probably get away from them. So State needs a good performance from Pico, but I think it'll be a pitching duel maybe the first 4 innings, and then I think State will make a move. And, of course, that won't help the fans on social media. I mean, 2 innings into this thing, they're going to be like, oh, my gosh, But, you're going to see a bona fide Friday night starter. But they're a team that has struggled at times offensively. They hadn't scored double-digit runs at all this year, but in their defense, they hadn't played a cupcake game yet either. And Jose said as much, even the win over Sam Houston State in the midweek. I mean, that's a team that's been a pretty solid mid-major, when Matt Deggs was there. But, they got a couple of guys that got a little pop. Motley is a guy that has gotten hot here as of late. I believe he went 4 for 5 last night. So that's a bat to watch. And they had a freshman, walk it off against USC on Sunday. Here's the thing, too. The thing you ask yourself is a school like Rice, when you look at their tradition, people forget they won the national championship in 2003. You had Lance Berkman. Of course, you had Jose Cruz Jr., and Matt Anderson. You had a lot of players that went there. I think college baseball needs Rice to be good. And I think that they bring something to the American Athletic, and I think the ECU needs Rice to be good too, Of course, it helps to have your AD on the Division I Selection Baseball Committee that even when you don't deserve it, you get, benefit of the doubt. But I think that's
is the committee nothing but mid-majors? I mean, it's Jeremy McLean's now on it. You just told me the Rice guy's on it. Last year, the East Carolina guy hosted Mississippi State, and his compadres, the Army AD and somebody else.
You had Strickland, of course,
right?
In Florida,
but he got named late, and he walked in. Even though they were good, they were 26 and 26, so he had to fight his tail off just to get his team in. So you know how that went. That was brokered. You get in, and we get to decide this. If Florida was 38 and 23, State gets in. But man, that thing is loaded up with mid majors. I don't understand that.
It's not the Rice AD. I was kind of referencing the ECU AD, but
oh yeah, well I'm not happy with him.
Yeah, well
they deserve to get knocked out early.
No doubt about it. And the fact that it was Evansville made it even a little sweeter.
Oh, it's beautiful.
But sometimes the poetry just kind of writes itself in reality, But,
right.
But yeah, I mean, I think this is a team that they're going to be around 500. I mean, they have 61 and 119, I think, in and Jose Cruz's 3 years there. And listen, and Rice baseball was broken when he got there. Last year is the best year of his tenure, so they're trending in the right direction. And you know, be patient with him because he is one of their own. But I mean, it's interesting that State draws them in game 1. I think if State draws them in game 3 this weekend, it's probably a mercy rule type thing. And so you're going to get them first. And then they're going to get a chance to play Tennessee and Texas A&M with not really bona fide weekend guys, you know. So I think Rice's best, they probably feel like their best chance to win a ball game is tomorrow. And so they're throwing their best guy, keeping him on schedule. But, I think it could be a long weekend for them. So.
Yeah. All right. Steve Robertson, the Boneyard Podcast, Gene's Page, 247 Sports. He's on his way to Houston for the Astros College something. Let's see, I had that up here in just a second. The Foundation College Classic, the Astros Foundation College Classic. Should have a good group out there with all the alums that have been going out there since 1960, the last 6-7 decades. You're probably going to have a pretty good group out there raising some hell in the ballpark because the Mississippi State Houston alumni base is strong and solid, Steve.
It is. It's one of the largest out-of-state alumni groups in Mississippi, in the Mississippi State family. And a lot of that, of course, is all those engineering jobs and, you know, whether it be aerospace or petroleum. And there's a lot of great Bulldogs out there in Houston. And I'm glad we can take the show on the road and have an opportunity to go out there and celebrate with those folks. They're going to have some big alumni events, and you can go to the Mississippi State alumni page, and they'll have a list of kind of what's going on. And,
oh, cool.
And it's not just we're going to have a ball game. They're going to have a chance for everybody to kind of get together and kind of tailgate together and just recreate. And those are all good things. But it's a long way out there. But that whole southeast quadrant of Texas has been really good to Mississippi State.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people, of course, it was hoping we'd go out there for a bowl game a couple of years ago. They were really kind of keeping their fingers crossed and. Ultimately State, goes elsewhere. But, I'm glad that we're getting a chance to go out there. And also, too, for the players. I mean, a chance to go play, at Astros ballpark. I mean,
sure.
To go play in a big league ballpark is a cool experience. And, at the end of the day, State needs to go win a game. It doesn't matter if we're playing, at a municipal park or a Major League Baseball stadium. I mean, every game matters, and State needs to go put a good weekend together.
That's right. All right. How Steve Robertson on the Out of Bounds Show and the Farm Bureau Insurance Guest Line. How important is the home game against LSU for Chris Jans and the players in the program?
Well, I think you're safely in the tournament, but man, you don't want to look up at the end of the year and head into the SEC tournament, on a 5-game losing streak, right? I mean, and LSU has actually gotten better, but they haven't really been good on the road. You need to go win this game. And, latest prognostications have State as like a 5 or a 6 seed. And, so you feel good about where they stand, but you can ill afford to just go 0 for the rest of the way and then expect to get in the tournament. You know what I mean? And there's some people out there, there's something to worry about. There is always something to worry about when you've lost 2 in a row and then you've got a team coming in that's hungry, that understands that they're playing for next year. State's going to have to bring a good game, and you got to beat LSU. And then, we'll see. They need to beat. I think the LSU and Texas. I think you feel good about those. The tripped up Bud Walton is never a walk in the park.
Yeah.
And then, now Calipari's got those guys playing a little bit better. Emotional senior night type deal. It's tough to count that one right now, but you got to focus on LSU. And I think if you get LSU and Texas, I think you kind of solidify where you are, no matter what happens the rest of the way in the SEC tournament.
Okay. All right. I think both teams need to show some toughness and resiliency. Baseball and basketball. What's the best team in the tournament out there in Houston? Who's the best team?
That's got to be Tennessee, I would think. And I know Texas A&M is ranked number 1, but when you talk about heavy as the head, right, that wears the crown, they get beat by Texas State. They got beat by Cal Poly. And, it's a first-year head coach. That's one of the things we've talked about, me and some of my friends in college baseball media, is loaded as this A&M lineup is. It's almost a pressure building opportunity. Michael Early, it's his first time to be a head coach, and then you're given the keys to a Ferrari and say, hey, just get us a container of milk and come on back, right? And you don't even know if he can drive,
right?
So, and then to lose that game with Texas State, and there are some people out there that say, well, midweeks don't matter. That's not true.
They do,
because midweeks kept Mississippi State from hosting last year. So don't sit there and tell me they don't matter. And to lose, I think they've lost 2 in a row now. And but this Tennessee offense, and really Tony Vitello's just his whole hitting system, and I've had a chance to visit with Tony. I'll tell you, the thing that I love about Tony Vitello is he just exudes confidence. Like, even sitting there talking to him, it makes you want to go grab a bat and hit a home run. I mean, he has that alpha dog type mentality. And people, well, I don't like the way they play. Well, I love the way they play because they win, right? And you have to play with an edge. And I'd rather be hated anyway. You know what I mean? It's like, I remember those years, like, when, and I say this all the time, I love it when Mississippi State baseball is feared. And you can see it right on social media, like when State's getting ready to go in there and you expect State to win the series and all these people are chirping about what used to happen, that sort of stuff. There's this mystique around Tennessee right now. And even before they won the national championship, it's like, hey, these are the Oakland Raiders of college baseball. I'm not saying that I want State out there doing bad flips and, flipping people off in the stands and things like that. But between the lines, those guys right now are doing it better than anybody. And I think if you're Rice and having to deal with those guys in game 2, and you don't even know who you're going to pitch, it could be a long day.
Woo! Holy moly. Tony Vitello. He is, he's the dude in college baseball now. Enjoy your trip. We'll talk soon.
See you, bud.
Steve Robertson, Gene's Page 247 Sports. He joined us on ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. That interview was brought to you by Crystal Sky Casino in Louisville, Mississippi, 3 minutes off Highway 25. When you're going up for the LSU game this weekend, 150 slot machines and a sports book. Crystal Sky Casino, Louisville, Mississippi, on the way back from Starkville. Also brought to you by, let's give a shout out to Big E's Steakhouse in Starkville. And Valteo Tequila. Had a great time at Dak Prescott's party, Super Bowl week. And Valteo Tequila has hit the market. Guess what, Jackson? Briarwood Wine and Spirits has it. Briarwood Wine and Spirits on Old Canton Road has Valteo Reposado Tequila, 100% additive free in blue agave.